Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have a zombie apocalypse. This one comes from the list of Nostradamus predictions for the year. He wrote that it would start off with a Russian scientist and lead to total extinction. While I'm a huge Last of Us fan, I would prefer if we kept the zombies in the game instead of real life. Nostradamus said it would be a few young people who would be half dead to give start. Honestly, the virus we're dealing with right now is certainly bad enough, so let's hope this is one prediction that Nostradamus was way off on. In our number 9 spot today, we have a biblical famine. Before the pandemic, the world was already having an interesting time trying to feed our ever-growing population, but the pandemic has had an immense effect on our world and has left millions of people without proper access to food. Whether it's the production of food that has taken a hit in some countries, or the loss of jobs and the crashing of the economy that has left more people turning to food banks for help, food insecurity is definitely increasing. In 2020, we saw the Democratic Republic of the Congo add an additional 7 million people to its crisis of food security, and we also saw 20 million people in Yemen in an absolutely dire situation. This is just a few examples of places where famine is at an absolute extreme, but it is absolutely not an isolated incident. The economic impact of the pandemic coinciding with climate change is certainly not a great combination. In our number 8 spot today, we have the big one in California. Well, we have known for a while that at some point there's going to be a pretty devastating earthquake in California. It could be coming up a lot quicker than we anticipated. Nostradamus has predicted that a huge earthquake will hit the New World or the Western lands, and California is truly the most likely place in the West for this to happen. He said that it would happen when Mercury is in Sagittarius, shout out to Sagittarius, and when Saturn is fading. According to astrologers, those two planets will be in these positions on November 25th of this year. In our number 7 spot today, we have cybersecurity. There have been predictions of huge cybersecurity breaches coming this year. People are looking forward to hopefully the end of the lockdowns we've seen due to the pandemic, and hopefully more people will be able to transition back to working in the office rather than having to continue working from home. With this change, it's possible that hackers could use this time as a time to strike. As people transfer from working on different computers and networks, there might be some slip-ups in encryption or people uploading things to the cloud that normally wouldn't be uploaded. I'm obviously no computer expert, so I'm not exactly sure how this all works, but all I know is that people are saying this could be the year we see just how unsecure all of our computers really are. In our number 6 spot today, we have cyborg soldiers. I think this one is the most far-fetched for me personally on this list, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. Maybe it already has and I don't even know. There are predictions that American soldiers will have chips implanted in their brains that will give them an artificial intelligence level of thinking. While this could be cool in theory, I have absolutely no idea how this would work, let alone all of the negative implications this could have. It would definitely be cool to have the ability to process things on an entirely different level, but mixing that kind of power with human nature really could be a deadly combination. But before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. In our number 5 spot, in our halfway mark, we have the fact that coronavirus might just continue. One of the scariest predictions for the year is basically just going through the same thing that we went through last year. In January of 2020, we honestly had no idea that it would be one of the most difficult years globally. If you're in one of the countries that has managed to get a handle on the virus and is no longer in lockdown, people are afraid of the virus finding its way back in. The vaccine is definitely a saving grace, trying to help our world return to how it functioned pre-pandemic, but we certainly aren't out of the woods yet. People are afraid that COVID-19 will continue to greatly affect a ton of countries and that this new second strain might bring another extremely tough year. In our number 4 spot today, we have the end of antibiotics. Doctors have been warning us for years that eventually antibiotics will become obsolete due to an increase in antibiotic use. This comes from overuse as well as improper use of the medicine, and we honestly might be seeing those repercussions pretty soon. We're seeing more bacteria and illnesses evolve into superbugs that are immune to the powers of penicillin. This could lead to people getting more sick, more serious complications from illnesses, and even potentially more deaths due to things that would have been treatable. In our number 3 spot today, we have aliens. From the UFO footage that was released by the Pentagon to all these random mysterious monoliths popping up all over the world, it is starting to seem more and more likely that maybe there really is life on other planets, and it might just be the year that they make real contact with humans. There are tons of people who believe that 2021 is the year year of the alien, and honestly that number grows every day. Space is incomprehensibly huge, and so the potential for there to actually be aliens feels likely. I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you could meet an alien, would you? And what do you think aliens look like? I just want to know. I'm just curious. In our number 2 spot today, we have solar storms. We apparently might see some pretty intense and devastating solar storms this year. These storms were predicted by Nostradamus, but also have been in the news recently as the sun has been showing more and more activity. These solar storms could have a terrible effect on our Earth and mess with available resources, and could potentially even render some areas unlivable. Nostradamus said we will see rising water and the Earth falling under it. If this were to happen, we could potentially see mass migration and fighting over resources, which we already do, so that would not be good. Hopefully the sun just feels like acting like the cool guy with sunglasses that I always drew him to be in the corner of my elementary school drawings. If you know, you know. In our number 1 spot today, we have an asteroid. Another Nostradamus prediction is that of an asteroid hitting Earth. While he didn't say the word asteroid, he did speak of a long trail of sparks within the sky, which is made of fireplace, and so honestly I'm not really sure how else this could be interpreted. There's a chance that you might be wondering if there are any potential asteroids lurking around that might be worth keeping an eye on. Like the asteroids just lurk around? Like what? And the answer to that is unfortunately yes. NASA is keeping tabs on a large meteor called 2009 KF1 because it could be on track to collide with Earth on the 6th of May this year.
Coming in number 10, we have World War III.
USS Flynn, prepare to engage.
I don't know what needs to happen to kick off a world war, but it would seem that tensions are pretty high right now. I mean, we have a global pandemic, a global economic crisis. We just watched one of the strangest presidential elections that I have ever seen, and it would seem that the super rich just keep getting richer. So I don't know how unstable things need to get to force countries to go into an all-out war with each other, but it would seem that we might be reaching a breaking point. In one of Nostradamus' passages, he wrote, "Twice put up and twice cast down. The East will also weaken the West. Its adversary, after several battles chased by sea, will fall at time of need." This could mean that there will be a conflict break out between the East and West. Who those people will be, I have no idea. I don't have the gift of clairvoyance and I don't even watch the news, so I'm just spitballing over here. But if I had to guess who the big superpowers in the East and West are, we got America and we also got China. Russia could be one of those guys too. They might want to all get at each other's throats because one of these countries might think that they need a bigger seat at the table. We also have the fact that new tax laws are going to be put on the super rich, and that always ruffles some feathers. Coming in at number 9, we have rising sea levels. Okay, let's revisit one of the points that I just brought up. Again, Nostradamus said adversaries after several battles chased by sea will fail at time of need. Okay, so if we were able to read this normally, it sounds like we're talking about war, but your adversary doesn't have to be a person. What about our planet? I mean, it says chased by sea. What if it literally means the sea will be chasing us down and trying to take our land away from us because the sea levels are rising and we're going to end up underwater? And when it says we fail in time of need, that could be referencing all the people that need help now from sea levels rising and all the ways we could probably help slow down climate change that we aren't doing, and how all these people will be left in the dust by the rapidly changing environment. I don't think now would be a good opportunity to buy a beachside home. I think you should think more inland, somewhere that's high with a neutral climate that has a lot of land for you to grow stuff on. If anyone watching this video is planning on making some sort of doomsday farm, hit me up in my DMs. I'm looking for a backup plan if the whole world starts to fall apart. And guys, remember to hit that like button because it really helps us out. Coming at number 8, we have Trump will fall ill. I mean, I don't think Nostradamus used the name Trump, but you know he was talking about world leaders of some country. It seems that some people think that one of the predictions that came from the French prophet was that Trump would fall ill with a mysterious sickness. Now, some people could say that this has already happened and he was fine. As we all remember, Trump caught the coronavirus and walked out on that balcony and stood in front of all that people. He was kind of breathing like a goldfish. But is COVID-19 that mysterious of an illness? I don't really think so. We all know where this thing came from and what it does to people. I think if this prediction is going to come true, it's going to be something much more mysterious that snags him. Now, what is that mysterious thing going to be? Well, I have no clue. If I did, it wouldn't be that mysterious now, would it? But I think it would be something that would have him in the hospital for quite some time. Will this take the dude out? I don't know. I told you guys this thing is supposed to be mysterious. Coming in number 7, we have the assassination attempt of Putin. Well, this one actually makes perfect sense. The guy's supposed to be maybe the most powerful person on the planet. And when you're in the hot seat and people are very afraid of you, they're also gunning to take you out. There's an old rule of power. You never want to be the king. You want to be the guy who advises the king, because if he ever falls, you can be like, dude, I didn't even do anything. It was all this crazy dude. And then you can sneak out with anything horrible happening to you. But Nostradamus has called that someone will come for the king and try to take his crown. Not only that, but that the reason he will be assassinated will be attributed to the fact that someone close to him betrays him. I know, that is the tea, ladies and gentlemen. Someone who is close to Vladimir Putin is going to set him up to be killed. Now, will this attempt work? Well, I think we have a theme here. I have no idea. For the sake of whoever's going to try and pull this off, I hope it does, because if you try and kill Vladimir Putin and then you're unsuccessful and he finds you, he's going to torture you for longer than he has been king of Russia or whatever his title is. Coming in number 6, we have the rise of mechanization. I mean, from our perspective, this seems like a no-brainer, but thinking back to when Nostradamus was alive, it would have been a long shot to call out mechanization. In one passage he wrote, "The new sage with a lone brain sees it, by his disciples invented to be immortal, eyes to the south, hands in blossom, bodies in fire." The new sage with a lone brain could be referencing the hive mind that robots would have to take all of our jobs. They would all operate with one central hub, and they would all be controlled from there, and they obviously would be immortal in a sense. Obviously everything can die, but the fact that robots can constantly be repaired and upgraded and never need to stop working as long as their model is relevant, they can keep going. Having a robot workforce is the closest thing we'll ever have to having someone who can work forever, never need a break, and they also don't need any rights. But what does that mean for everyone else who needs to work to feed their family and just to survive? I mean, we don't really have a system set up for people who want to opt out of capitalism. Do I hear universal basic income, anybody?
Nice.
Next on the list, we have economic collapse. We have already taken a massive hit from the coronavirus. Many people lost their jobs. Some people are just making way less money at work, and there doesn't seem to be end in sight. The vaccine should help, but there's no guarantee that this is going to be the end of the virus. Now, in the meantime, some countries are forking over money to their people if they don't have a job, or were fired, or were laid off, or need some time to get things back together. Other countries are not providing anything to their people, and I don't really know how those people are surviving. I mean, you still have to pay bills, but there's no money coming in. So it's suspected that many people are just digging a massive hole with debt, and when this is all over, unless there's some sort of financial aid to get these people out of debt, there will be no way that they can break free from this. And we might start to see people walk out on their debts or mass bankruptcy sweep over countries. This would cause the economy to flop and everything to fall into chaos.
Well, that sucks.
Coming at number 4, we have the vaccine will make us sick. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I am not anti-vaccination. This is a top 10 list for a top 10 channel, and this video is about predictions from a guy who is dead. Don't take this too seriously. So Nostradamus predicted a massive plague around 2020, and I think it's easy to see what the plague was. It was clearly COVID-19. But some people are speculating that the real sickness is yet to come.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I hope that this isn't the case. We might be at the tail end of this thing, so I would like it to be over as soon as possible. If another pandemic is on its way, I'm just going to move to some isolated island and become a farmer. But some people suspect that the vaccine was a rush job and will lead to more people getting sick and cause a second outbreak of a new virus that we are not prepared for. That sounds lovely.
You are not prepared.
Coming in number 3, we have natural disasters. This is nothing new coming from Nostradamus. This is the kind of thing he loves to call out, but this time it seems to be focused in one place, and that place is America. There are earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, and a whole bunch of other junk that might be headed towards the States in 2021. I mean, can't things finally turn around after how crazy of a year 2020 was? You think the universe would be tired of stressing everyone out for just a little bit and would take a break, but it turns out that things might get even more hectic. apocalyptic. But if you're not living in the States, I guess it's nice to know that Nostradamus hasn't called any destructive feats of nature to come crashing through your door. I guess it's time to start dipping into that donation fund because there might be a few places that are in need of some help in the coming year. Coming in at number 2, we have mass revolution. We are in the late stages of capitalism, and as much as people like to pitch the idea that everyone can make it in this world with a little elbow grease and time, that's not true for everyone, and the gap between rich and poor is growing every day. It's constantly harder to live as a middle class worker and just make enough money to simply raise a family, and people might start saying enough is enough. Nostradamus predicted a massive shift in humanity in the year 2020 or 2021, that there will be a new consciousness and the public perception of how to act will be geared towards different ways of living. Maybe we will see a mass uprising of people who are underpaid and underappreciated, and that will lead to a new way of life. Coming into the number 1 spot, we have the end of days. I mean, it's not only Nostradamus that has predicted this to happen, but there have been a lot of people from all over the world who are constantly calling out that doomsday is coming. I mean, building a doomsday bunker is a whole subculture that people are constantly getting into. Ever since the pandemic kicked off, people have been stockpiling ammunition to make sure if anyone comes around their home looking for food, the only thing they're gonna find is hot lead. But maybe it is this year. It would seem that so many horrific things are crescendoing at the same time. We have a global pandemic that has been hitting the world so hard. We have climate change that is supposed to make our planet unlivable and possibly lead to the end of humanity. We have an economic crisis on the horizon that we haven't heard any action plan for, and on top of all of this, political tensions are at an all-time high. And not to mention, there's always one of those super volcanoes that could blow up at any second. I'm sure if something like that happened, we would all have the ample stress levels to deal with it, and none of us would freak out. We would all be super calm, of course.
Starting us off at number 10 is COVID-19, custom-made pandemics. There are future predictions that state that we should be able to create our own pandemic by now. Okay, just hear me out. We already have many blueprints for this. For instance, we have 3D printers and we've accidentally been given recipes for mutated bird flu strains. This dangerous information was published by Nature magazine and could provide anyone with the means of human destruction. We're literally teaching potential terrorists to create their own viruses, like, hello, we are going to be the end of ourselves. We might even see a widespread outbreak of some new form of a manufactured disease, and there are actually a number of reports coming to light as the current pandemic's origin is now being questioned. Did it really come from someone eating a bat at a market, or did it come from the high-level research lab for bat-like diseases just 4 miles from said market? I will leave that one up to you. Coming in at number 9 is the Weekend West. So in light of number 10, which is currently happening, there's a prediction which suggests that China is considered the next world superpower, and a certain quatrain seems to suggest that after the setbacks of the US Civil War and the Great Famine, China is ready to reach the top. Now the US is still $7 trillion ahead of China's $11 trillion economy, and the average American produces 2 times the world average economic output. America's economy is currently down because of COVID-19, and China's is flourishing because they had it and beat it first, and their economy is the only one in the world that is currently active in sending materials like PPE equipment to the rest of the world. They're also buying up a lot of companies while the whole world is at a standstill, and it's pretty much only a matter of time until China eclipses the US as a world power. But I honestly think this happened way before COVID-19 was even a thing. I did my university thesis on how China has overtaken the US, and it was 40+ pages long, you guys. China really has surpassed the US in almost every way, which I don't even mind. At number 8, we have World War III. Now this event has honestly been predicted so many times in the past, I'm over it. In 1981, it was claimed the Third World War would start in 1994 and continue until at least 1999. Did that happen? No. In 2002, World War III was cited to start after 57 years of peaceful years since World War II ended in 1945. Could the prediction have had the right numbers but the wrong sequence? Let's do some quick maths right now. 1945 plus 57 is 2002, but was it supposed to be 2020 instead? We did kick off January with President Trump saying there would be World War III, like I've mentioned a billion times already, so honestly, could be in the cards. You never know. Filling at number 7 slot is technology. Future predictions have suggested that we will be able to download our own consciousness in the next couple of years. As of now, this cannot be done because the consciousness is considered to be tightly connected to physical structures in the brain, and we can't figure out how to go about this feat. This is so Black Mirror, it's not even funny. Say we were to download our consciousness, we could in effect be committing suicide only to replicate our conscious thought in digital form. But then we would just be stuck in AI form and not be able to perform any tasks since our physical bodies would just cease to exist. Some people consider this the same as teleportation. Once the mind is obliterated, it is cloned in another place. So really, is this new form even us anymore? The future holds a reality to this innovation, but it might not be a reality we care to see. Maybe Bill Gates can speak to this one, since he is trying to microchip the entire planet right now with a global vaccine. Fun fact, his proposed certificate of vaccination ID makes the acronym, wait for it, COVID. Just saying. Now at number 6 is animal communication. Nostradamus predicted that humans and animals would communicate in the future, and I really hope he's right with this one because my cat probably has a lot of things to discuss with me. She's really seen too much, honestly. She's looking at me recording this right now and judging the hell out of me. Anyway, a Japanese company has almost made this possible. They invented a device called the Bowlingual, and it was supposedly able to translate a dog's bark into a language. It seemed as if Nostradamus was right and human-animal communication was happening, but unfortunately, the device was inconsistent and couldn't be proven to work correctly. So the next time your dog woofs at you, it'll just be a woof still. So the dream of talking with your furry friends is dead for now. Coming in at number 5 is the 150 lifespan. I would love to live till I'm 150 years old. The thought of aging and dying in general just gives me a lot of anxiety. I know you shouldn't be scared of something that you'll never feel until it happens, but who the hell wants to die? Either way, in 1974 at the Federation of American Societies, Bernard Strehler announced that humans would live to be 150 years of age by the end of the 20th century. Although the human lifespan has increased quite a bit in the last 75 years, it's still a very long way from an increase of that level. I mean, on the one hand, as advancements continue toward eradicating disease, the future could hold a much longer lifespan, and this prediction could then become true. In other publications, however, it is speculated that even 200 years of age would be considered normal in our future. And I'm just pissed I'm going to be dead by then, so none of this even matters to me, but I hope my great-grandkids live to be 300, just for banter. At number 4 are zombies. Now, according to Nostradamus, the dead will rise from their graves to the games of slaughter around the millennium in the year of the 7th number. Now, this could have meant 2007, it could have meant the 71st century. Since zombies did not overtake us in 2007, the zombie apocalypse could very much happen in the 71st century or 2077. But is it unlikely? Is it not? It is. Even with that unlikeliness, researchers have prepared for the circumstance to play out in real life. In 2016, the Center for Disease Control published a pamphlet entitled Preparedness 101 Zombie Pandemic, which outlined the best course of action in a real outbreak. And thankfully, I don't even have to read that shit because I've seen enough seasons of The Walking Dead to know exactly what to do in that situation. Rick Grimes would not be disappointed in me, I'll give you that. Furthermore, in 2015, Cornell University epidemiologists determined if the worst were to happen and the dead really did wake from their graves and head to Nevada, where it should remain zombie-free for 4 months. But with the insane influx of obsession surrounding zombies in television and movies, maybe he was referring to that. Who knows? Filling at number 3 slot is the Antichrist, and unfortunately for us, there are apparently supposed to be 3. Not 1 Antichrist, but 3. The first 2 were Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler, both horrible, horrible men that everybody hated, I do agree. I mean, we know those 2 guys existed and caused a wicked reign of terror in history, but there's still 1 to go, and well, that means this prediction hasn't fully come true yet, and that means I am scared, because number 3 is probably sure as shit to be worse than 1 and 2 combined. That's usually how maths works. Now at number 2 is Mavis. I just told you about the Antichrist, and I won't leave you on a cliffhanger about the 3rd possible member because it is believed to be Mavis. Mavis will soon die, then will come a horrible undoing of people and animals. At once, one will see vengeance, 100 hands, thirst, famine when the comet will pass. 262. Now, Google search of this commonly reports guesses for who Mavis is, from Saddam Hussein to Barack Obama to the current US Secretary of the Navy, Ray Mabus. And finally, you guys, at number 1 is the end of times. Let's just call it Armageddon for short, because I'm not going to be saying the end of times every time I refer to it. Now, it was believed that Y2K could have been the end of times he was referring to, but that didn't quite pan out because 20 years later, I'm alive as hell. Then there was the Mayan calendar that predicted the end of the world in 2012, which also did not happen. Does that mean he was wrong, or does it just mean it hasn't happened yet? There has also been reference to 8 long years of wait. The world would have to wait for 8 long years before finally living in peace. Towards the year 2025, of whatever is left would be led to an illuminating world which would be filled with peace and serenity. This peace would apparently be like the phoenix, which is born from its own ashes, but there's also a common fascination with the year 3797, which Nostradamus himself stated was the end of his predictions. It's pretty far off, so I feel okay about it, but I mean, whoever's alive at that point sucks to suck. Now, you and I won't be around to confirm, even if he was right with his previous prediction that human life will extend past 100 years, we will never know.
Coming into number 10, we have an assassination warning from the year 4932. Apex TV, as you'll soon discover, are the gift that keep on giving. They make paranormal videos and are basically a conspiracy theorist's wet dream. In December 2017, they published an audio clip purportedly sent in to them by a time traveler from the year 4932. How did the time traveler reach them in the first place? By email, apparently. 30 years ago we were sending post, but apparently in 2,900 years' time, we're still sending emails. I'm actually just gonna say straight up, we won't be. We're just gonna be communicating with the power of our minds. Anyway, the anonymous time traveler has a warning about the future president, which he says will be enough to get him killed for relaying. He says that the year 4932 is a time and a world that many people listening to would not relate to as ideal, and that time as a traveling journey has destroyed future ambition. He says that humanity no longer seem to pursue progression. He also claims that years are mysteriously falling off the calendar. He said that when attempting to journey to a future year that they'd previously journeyed upon, our error notes returned the period classification as unavailable. This suggests that the future is changeable, and with that logic, he assumes that the past is too. His message warns of the assassination of a President Janu Oliver Beck in July 2084. Janu, by the way, is supposed to be born in September this year, so watch out for that. The time traveler says he must never be elected because he must never be assassinated. Apparently, the president was also a philosopher before taking office, and he managed to prove the existence of a god. The time traveler said if we preserve his philosophy, we will preserve the future of humanity. He ended the message by saying a number sequence: 16, 8, 4, 4, 8, 4, 4, 4, 8, 8, 4, 8. Now this has stumped Apex TV viewers. The video has had over 2.6 million views, and none of them know what the weird numbers at the end mean. Coming into number 9, we have the Great Awakening in the Age of Aquarius. On November the 26th, 1977, a scary alien voice interrupted a British TV broadcast at 5:10 in the afternoon on ITV. Hijacking the Hannington transmitter, a scary speaker interrupted transmissions for 6 whole minutes, claiming to be an alien called Virillan from the Intergalactic Association. With a distorted voice, Virillan says that all weapons of mass evil must be removed. He warns humanity that they have a short time to learn how to live together in peace. The voice implored viewers to remain peaceful so that we could be part of the Great Awakening in the Age of Aquarius. The hijacker was voice only, and later ITV called the hijack a breakthrough in sound. Now, the identity of the hijacker has never been found, but afterwards tongues were firmly set wagging. A lot of alien conspiracy theorists hailed the interruption as a message from aliens of the future who have mastered the ability to send messages through space-time. Coming into number 8, we have the Drunk Traveler. Do you know what? I might try this one. In October 2017, police officers in Casper, Wyoming apprehended a drunk who claimed to be a time traveler. The self-confessed time traveler had a message of warning too. Now this warning wasn't beer and liquor never sicker, which is a shame because I think he could have used some advice there. His warning actually said that aliens will arrive in the year 2018 and cause havoc. The drunk man said that he was from the year 2048 and he was able to time travel because, and I quote, aliens filled my body with alcohol. Alright then. Coming into number 7, have we been sent a message from the future from a nearby star? Okay, when are we going to stop naming our stars insane letter combinations? This star is HD 164595, which really isn't very catchy. This star is a G-type star 94.35 light years away from Earth. In 2015, we seemingly received a message from something in the vicinity of this star. The signal was only heard once by the Ratan 600 radio in Russia. It was not reported to the rest of the world until 2016. Now, the announcement came as part of the Breakthrough Listen project, which is now scanning the nearest 100 galaxies for transmissions. The star has been of interest to humans because it is in a habitable zone. A lot of theorists are suggesting that the message could be from a future form of humanity or even aliens. Coming into number 6, we have Noah. Noah, what a guy. He made headlines in 2017 when he appeared in several news publications and in an interview with Paranormal Elite. Noah claimed to be from the year 2021, but apparently he'd been to the year 2120. It seems that Noah isn't his real name, it's just a name used to protect his identity. The man said that he was 50, but he'd taken secret drugs to make him younger, so he appears as a 25-year-old. Good. Great. In a video for Paranormal Elite, he says his sole objective was to prove that time travel exists. He said that it was invented in 2003 but was only used by top secret organizations. Time travel was then publicly released in 2028. He said that he works for the government in 2021, but unfortunately he's been fired, meaning he can't get back to his time. He says that flying cars exist in 2021 and people love virtual reality. He also says that in 2021 the US president is still Donald Trump and that the sky is red with global warming in Las Vegas in 2120. He also claims that North Korea is a huge threat to the world in 2030. Coming into number 5, we have John Titor, who had some worrying words for America. John Titor claimed to be an American military time traveler from 2036, and he wrote on a number of blogs and bulletin boards between 2000 and 2001. He started with the Time Travel Institute forums. John's words were so impactful and garnered so much attention that countless works of literature and music have been inspired by them. His story is long, so I just want to give you the cliff notes. He basically says that the USA breaks up into 5 smaller constituents as a result of civil war. He also says that humans create a miniature black hole and that World War III would be erupting soon. Although his message very much panicked people 18 years ago, a lot of the things that John said would have happened by now haven't yet happened. He explained at the time of his warnings that the future was changeable, and a lot of people think that by spreading his warnings in the first place, he actually created a new timeline of events. Some people were so wrapped up in his narrative, they created the John Titor Foundation. Up next, a lot of people think that our next warning from the future also came from John using a different name. At number 4, we have the Y2K bug scare. A lot of people pin down the Y2K scare to a number of faxes received in 1998 by Coast to Coast AM. Basically, a lot of people were concerned that come the year 2000, computers would just break down and all hell would break loose. An anonymous time traveler faxed into the show saying that Y2K is a disaster and that the government had to take control using martial law. The time traveler wrote in by fax, which, yeah, cool, I'm sure we definitely are still faxing in 2034. The time traveler warned that people suffer in the future because they forget their basic survival skills, and do you know what? I can kind of see that. As we know, the Y2K bug didn't happen, but some people were super scared. Coming into number 3, we have a 2016 computer virus. In December 2016, swathes of people around the world reported a scary computer malfunction that they assumed was a virus. People's internet browsing or Netflix viewing was interrupted by text from a man who said he was from the future. The text was patchy and mismatched, but eventually, through crowdsourcing, it was pieced together. The full text claimed to be from a man who said that he was a chronoquantum technician whose work had been banned. He said it was because, and I quote, to prevent me from doing exactly what I'm doing now, at long last sending a warning to our ancestors. He said that humans are taking a path into darkness, and it all began in the late 20th century when humans started accepting crimes and absolutely inhumane practices. He claimed all of the last 4 United States presidents were corrupt and blindsided people into accepting cruelty. Because case humans were so stupid as not to realize what the politicians were up to, the hacker from the future claimed that we, your descendants, have lived in squalor, rancor, violence, and despair all of our lives for generations. Coming into number 2, we have the unrecognizable humans of 2987. Apex TV interviewed this guy in Armenia. Now, he said that he was employed by the Soviet in 1987. They wanted to send him and a group of fellow time travelers back in time to the 1600s. The machine that they invented was allegedly called the History Corrector, and it was designed to send people back to correct mistakes made in Russian history. The only problem was, they found they couldn't send people back, only forward. As a result, the man was sent forwards in time by 1,000 years to 2987 using a special watch. He said that in little under 1,000 years, people are unrecognizable and almost mechanical. They're covered in devices and strange clothing. He said that people don't move, they levitate and apparate. He said that people are busy and emotionless and unhappy. He said that there are only 4 countries that exist: the Asian Federation, the Soviet Union, America, and a mysterious country called RA. Good news though, people do travel to Mars, and it's supposed to be really lovely in 1,000 years, so get me there. Finally, bad news for you guys living in the City of Angels, because LA's gonna be underwater in the year 5000. I really feel like Busted called it when they said that they'd been to the year 3000 and not much had changed, but they live underwater, and then they met a really hot great-granddaughter. It was great, it was a good time. Maybe they're the real time travelers here. Seriously though, one time traveler called Edward offered a scary vision of the future. Speaking to our mates at Apex TV, who else, Edward said that he worked on a top secret experiment in 2004 which allowed him to time travel to the future. He said that he arrived at a wooden city floating on the water where he met a man who informed him of the post-apocalyptic floods. He ventured into the ocean and saw the old city sitting at the bottom of the ocean bed. He said that the flooding was as a direct result of global warming and that many people had suffered from the loss of coastal city worldwide. He basically confirmed that yes, the polar ice caps do melt and so many people drown.